What does it take to be called a perpetual traveler? And why would you want to be one? Seeing that I wrote the modern day book on being a nomad capitalist in our book, Nomad Capitalist, I want to talk about this because I think that people have some misconceptions about what it means to live the nomad capitalist lifestyle and all of the terms that swirl around out there, from perpetual traveler to nomad to digital nomad, global citizen. What does it all mean? Let's talk about it. Hi, I'm Andrew Henderson, and to talk about this idea of being a perpetual traveler, or as it was originally coined, perpetual tourist, we have to go back several decades to the original flag theory, when only ultra-wealthy people who didn't have fixed jobs or fixed businesses, as was the case for most folks back then, but ultra-wealthy people were able to go around and as we say now, go where you're treated best. They were able to plant their flags to where they kept their money in one country, they had their business in another country, generally a tax haven, and then they went and they spent their time in other countries. And the theory was that tourists are treated better than citizens. So in most countries, you go to Europe, for example, you go and you buy a product, and when you leave, as a tourist, you're able to go to the airport and get your sales tax or your VAT refunded to you. Meanwhile, if you live there, if you're a citizen, if you're paying taxes there, no refund for you, you have to pay. And so that was the idea. The idea was that tourists are treated better, and hence the idea of being a perpetual traveler was born. What happened was you would go around and you would use your various visa exemptions. Now, visa policies have changed a lot in the last 10 years, let alone the last 50 years. Passports in general are getting far better in quality across the board, to where some of my friends in the industry are even suggesting there may sometime be a passport that can go to literally every country. So passports, in terms of travel freedom, are getting much better. But let's take a look at it from the original perspective. You would go and you would spend 90 days living in Europe, in the Schengen area. You can move around Spain, Portugal, Belgium, wherever you want in that Schengen area, 90 days. After 90 days, you have to leave. So maybe you want to go to Cyprus for 90 days because they're not in the Schengen area. Then winter's coming and you want to come to Malaysia for 90 days. Then you reset, you go back to Europe, you spend your 90 days, or maybe you decide you want to go somewhere different, the UK or Mexico or whatever the case may be. You're constantly on the move. What people, I think, get confused about is they look at what I used to do, and still do to some extent, which was travel to 11 countries in 2 months kind of thing, or be on 4 continents in 4 weeks. And they say, wow, that seems really uncomfortable. And so one of the questions I ask people whom I'm helping is, which of the 4 ways to be a nomad works for you? On one extreme is, I want to be an expat. I want to find a tax-friendly country where I can live, and I maybe will travel, but I'll do it at my discretion. If I'm not in the mood, I won't. I'll just stay there, but I'll know that I'm in a country that wants me to live there, and I'll get, pretty beneficial tax treatment. The other extreme is I want to live that lifestyle of constantly moving around and not really having much of a fixed base. And so that could look like, 1 week at a time, 1 month at a time, 3 months at a time. There are a couple countries like Mexico and technically the UK where you could spend 6 months at a time. But bouncing around at whatever pace you want. And then there's things in the middle where my trifecta method, you have 3 homes, you spend 4 months in each, or you have 1 home, but you do a lot of perpetual travel from there. There's different ways to slice it. And so to be a perpetual traveler, in my mind, as the world adapts, and as more and more people get in on this game, the terms shift. So what worked 50 years ago, where the idea was to be a perpetual tourist, back when most people couldn't afford to do that, it's now a different game. You have people who literally make $1,000 a month who bounce around on AirAsia and just go from one Asian country to the next, working from a laptop. Are they perpetual travelers? Yeah, I would say so. But I would also argue that the person who is living a perpetual traveler lifestyle in spirit and in intention is also a PT, in that we call the nomad capitalist lifestyle, which gives broader definition of the fact that there are different ways to slice this onion these days. You do not have to be constantly on the move. There are countries that are now livable, whereas Dubai and Kuala Lumpur and Panama City and an innumerable number of other places did not exist as livable options to a large extent back in the 1950s or 60s. Now they do. And so if you just want to go and live full-time in Dubai or Panama City and get your tax advantages and your lifestyle advantages that way, and that gives you what you need, nothing wrong with that. That's why I would say we've moved beyond the strict perpetual traveler, or PT, lifestyle, and moved into what I call the nomad capitalist, aptly named, of course. So don't feel that you need to do as I've done. Don't feel that you need to go and check out all these countries. What I've tried to do is figure out what others haven't. I came at this from the perspective of I never quite felt good enough to call up KPMG and pay them $100,000 to give me a blathering report about how to fix my taxes. I never wanted to be, well, I did at some point, but now I no longer want to be super cheap and go the cheap direction. And when I started this, 12 years ago in my research, there wasn't really anyone doing this or talking about it publicly. So I kind of had to figure it out myself. And my answer was just dive in and go to 100 countries and separate the wheat from the chaff and keep pivoting as you go. That's what I did. But people will tell me, oh, I don't really want to be going to 100 countries. Can I just find 3? Yeah, you can. Yes, you can. You do not have to go to 100 countries. I can tell you, most of the 100 countries I've been to do not serve much utility for you. You can skip those. We can help you skip those. And so I think that's the service that I would like to offer at Nomad Capitalist, is helping you separate the wheat from the chaff without going to 100 countries unless you really want to. There's so much more information out there about how this works these days. I'm trying to be a leader in that, but I want you to be aware that you do have options. That includes the option to be as sedentary as you like. Hi, I'm Andrew Henderson from Nomad Capitalist. I wrote this book, which you can find on Amazon, to distill a lot of the stuff we talk about in these videos and a lot of the stuff I've learned over the last decade plus traveling all around the world, teaching you about how to legally reduce your taxes, build your personal freedom, and create wealth faster. Definitely get a copy of this book if you want to learn more. Now, if you want to watch more videos, make sure you subscribe to our channel and make sure you click the notifications bell so you never miss one of our new videos with more tips on how to go where you're treated best. And if you're already a 6- or 7-figure entrepreneur and you'd like to put these strategies in place for yourself, go to nomadcapitalist.com and learn about how I can help you.